y'all. Hey, welcome to Conversations with T, an organic and down to earth conversations where we explore the fields of perinatal and maternal health and the intersectionality of spirituality and psychology. I am your host and your sister friend, Shatia Tee Owsley, and each episode we will take a deep dive and listen to stories, insights, new research, and have meaningful conversations into the outstanding and sacred work of Black and Brown birth workers, spiritualists, and other holistic health professionals making tremendous impacts in the world of birth and women's overall wellness. Whether you're a parent, a birth worker, a maternal health professional, an herbalist, or a spiritualist, or maybe you're just curious to learn more about the world of birth and women's wellness, from the lens of some dope Black and Brown wellness professionals, you have come to the right place. So grab your headphones, get you some tea, sit back, and let's vibe out. Today, I would like to introduce our guest, Miss Dionca Thompson. Dionca is a birth and postpartum doula. She's a childbirth educator, a newborn care specialist, and a birth assistant. Her goal is to provide families with the support and education they need to make informed and confident decisions for pregnancy, birth, and postpartum recovery. She believes that pregnancy and childbirth are sacred and natural processes, not medical emergencies. Dionca's approach to pregnancy, childbirth, and the postpartum period is rooted in holistic, personalized, and loving care. Known as a sister to many, the warmth is evident in her work. Dionca completed her master's degree in public health in 2017. She trained as a birth and postpartum doula and certified as a childbirth educator in 2020. She became a newborn care specialist in 2021 and completed her birth assistant training in 2023. Hey, girl, hey.
Hey.
Come on, bio. So I know I introduced you. That's just a little snippet of what you do, because you do a whole bunch of stuff. Okay. So let the people know, who are you, how you got started in this journey, and let's just vibe out. Let's just see where the conversation take us today.
Let's go. Let's go. Well, I am Dionca. Like she said, I am a birth and postpartum doula, childbirth educator, newborn care specialist, birth assistant. And I got started in this work as a postpartum doula. I started out doing postpartum work initially, and I loved it. It was really amazing. I think postpartum support is something that often gets kind of pushed to the back burner. We're always so focused on pregnant, the baby's coming, and then once the baby is here, it's like, oh, wait a minute, now what do we do? So
Right.
I started out doing postpartum work, and then I moved over into birth work. And I have just been loving it ever since. I still do a little bit of both, but mainly I do birth work now. When I was in college, I thought I wanted to be a nurse, just because I like helping people. And so I thought I wanted to be a nurse, and that didn't quite work out. I ended up changing my major to public health. And I remember I was sitting in a health disparities class, and they were talking about all the different health disparities that women of color face in maternal health care and all of that. And then, of course, the Black maternal health crisis was being talked about. And I'm like, okay, what can I do? How can I help? I plan to be a mother. I had a lot of friends that are mothers. I'm the oldest of 5 girls. I'm a girl's girl. Just love being in community with women, supporting women, talking with women. So I'm like, what can I do? And I ended up taking a doula training and becoming a doula. I took the training in August and I quit my job in September. And yeah, I've been doing it ever since.
Yes, leap of faith. You did not play. You did not play. So when you were looking for your doula program, were you looking for something specific when you decided, okay, I'm going to do this?
Not necessarily. And honestly, if I would have known a little bit more, I may have gone a different route. If you do a quick, well, back then at least, when you do a quick Google search, and you look for ways to become a doula, DONA always comes up. DONA, Kappa, and a couple others always come up. So I ended up going with DONA.
Okay.
Training. So yeah, I didn't know that there were all these different avenues and different ways to become a doula, and there's so many. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that that is important when you're thinking of becoming a doula. Figure out what type of doula you want to be, and then
Mm-hmm.
find an organization that most aligns with that, and then do
Yeah.
that training. So
Yeah. Yeah. So when you decided, okay, I'm going to take the switch, I'm going to make the switch from being a nurse, going down the nurse track
mhm.
to more public health, what did you, once you started diving into the public health work, was there any time where you said, I may need to go back and get some, like take some nursing classes or some anatomy
Never.
classes? No.
Never. No, it was, I loved it so much. I felt like it
Mhm.
was more, the projects and the work was more about like talking, and it wasn't so much of just book work, book work, book work. So yeah, I loved it so much. I'm like, I wasted my time, trying to do this nursing stuff. And it was helpful. It was. I learned a
Mhm.
lot. But public health was just, it's so much better. So much so that I went on to get my master's in public health because I enjoyed it so much. So yeah.
So when you went and decided to get your master's into public health, what was your focus? Like, did you have to do a thesis? Was it like an internship? Like when and
Yeah.
how did you at that time did you start incorporating women's health and birth work into your master's program?
So it's funny that you asked that question because it wasn't an intention. It just kind of happened that way.
Okay.
My husband and I moved to Germany in 2015.
Okay.
So I wasn't really sure what I was going to be able to do with my degree or how I was going to work. I don't speak German, so I didn't really know what I was going to be able to do. So I'm like, okay, this would be a good opportunity to further my education.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started my master's program. And luckily, I had a church member. It was actually the first lady. She was working on this program where she was helping women in Africa dealing with maternal health issues. And she wanted to start this program. And I ended up helping her pilot and start the program to assist women that were, dealing with maternal health issues in Africa. I had not thought about being a doula necessarily at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And it blows my mind how everything just kind of, when you set your mind on something, literally everything will just kind of start to flow. And that's really how
Mm-hmm.
my entire journey has been. It's just been flowing. That's how I feel like I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing because,
Mm-hmm.
of course it's difficult. There's difficult moments, but for the most part, things just have been flowing. Things have just been falling in my lap. So,
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I love it. So tell us a little bit more about the program in Africa. And are you
yeah.
still associated with it? Do you still check in from time to time or, how is that going?
So no, unfortunately, I don't still check in. We kind of
Hmm.
lost contact. My husband's in the military, so it's a lot of moving around, and you lose contact with people. But I was in charge of the education portion, which is doula work. Didn't even realize it. Childbirth education work, and didn't even
Hmm.
realize it. So yeah, I was in charge of the education portion. So I made a lot of like flyers, pamphlets, and
Hmm.
things like that for the women to be able to take and read over after they leave their appointments. So
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So let's just go back. You are one of five girls.
Mhm.
Five girls. So you said you wanted to be a nurse. Was there anyone in your family who was a nurse, a midwife, did holistic health care or wellness? Like, have you always, from the time you were younger, wanted to be in the medical field or in the wellness field? And do you think that being around in community, because you had so many sisters, did that influence you in any type of way?
Yeah. So when I was younger, my grandma was actually diagnosed with breast cancer really, really early.
Okay.
And I want to say I was like in first grade, maybe. And I just remember her saying, like, you're going to become a nurse to help Granny and save people and help people that have cancer. I remember her saying that. And I didn't really know what I wanted to be, that young, but I just remember her always telling me, like, yeah, you're going to be a nurse. You're going to be a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
My mom is a medical assistant and phlebotomist.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can't really say that I was around a lot of medical people, but my grandma,
Mm-hmm.
who is like a really, really big influence in my life, that's my girl.
Yeah.
I just remember her really, really speaking that into me, saying like, you're going to be a nurse and you're going to help people. So it really just kind of stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
After being a doula for 4 years, I recently found out that my great great grandmother was actually a midwife. I had no idea. Everybody in my family knows what I do, and no one ever mentioned this to me. But somehow my mom was having a conversation with a cousin or something,
Mhm.
and she ended up mentioning that my great great grandma was actually a midwife, and I had no idea. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. So I know you're doing birth doula, postpartum doula, childbirth education, birth assistant. Is becoming a midwife on the horizon? Is that something that you have thought about, you're thinking about?
I actually start my midwifery program March 3rd. Yeah, yeah. And I
Come on.
haven't made an announcement on my page or anything like that, but
But we
it
get
has
an exclusive. We get the
been exclusive.
exclusive.
Yes, it has really been pulling at me, to be quite honest.
Mhm.
Um, I'm here in El Paso,
Okay.
which is different. It
Yeah.
is really the desert. I am really out here in the desert. And it was hard. The move here was
Mhm.
hard because I felt like I had built such a great community in Killeen, Texas. That Killeen
Okay.
has such a special place in my heart. I feel like
Mhm.
after a while, I didn't have to really advertise. It was just kind of word of mouth. People knew me. It
Mhm.
was wonderful. So moving here, feeling like I had to start over was like, yeah, I felt like I was kind of mourning being in
Yeah.
Killeen, to be quite honest. But that's the thing about God and kind of trying to walk in your
Yeah.
purpose, that He always meets you wherever you're gonna go. And there
Mhm.
just so happens to be a birth center here called Maternidad La Luz, that is
Mhm.
very busy,
Yeah.
and they have a program to where I can go ahead and get started. So I'll be starting March 3rd.
Congratulations. I am so excited
Yeah,
to witness your journey and to really hear about it. So you definitely gonna have to come back and give us an update on
for
how
sure.
it's going.
Mhm.
So you took the shift from more of a Western medicalized model of care, right? And even in your bio, you talk about how birth is so sacred and how it is not a medical emergency. So you are really working from a lens of a holistic approach to wellness and to health. And what made you to make that shift? Because even public health is still a little on the Western side of things. You have, epidemiology and you have a lot of research, and it's still more so really looking at what's going on in hospitals, right? So how did you take the shift or make the shift? Or has holistic care always been some part of your life? And once you
Mhm.
got into doula work, it was not so much of a big transition. Yeah.
It was a transition,
Well, okay.
actually. Yeah, I can't say that it's always been a part of my life. I'm from the country. I'm from Americus, Georgia, which is about this big,
Okay.
in southern Georgia. So I don't remember like a whole lot of medical intervention. I remember one time I
Hmm.
got bee sting and my aunt like chewed some tobacco and took it out of her mouth and like put it on my bee sting and just, yeah. So
Yes.
a lot of country stuff
Yes.
when I was younger,
That
but
traditional healing,
yes.
traditional healing,
Absolutely.
ancestral. Yes, I love
Yes.
it.
But just getting older and just really trying to take my health more serious. I
Hmm.
want to say in like probably 2020, I really started making some changes, changing the way that I eat.
Hmm.
Went plant-based. I'm
Hmm.
pescatarian now. Had
Okay.
to add some fish back in there, but I was vegan for a couple of years actually.
Okay.
So yeah, I started changing my diet. I started learning about herbs and really just kind of threw everything away, honestly. I
Hmm.
remember I was in the car one time and I was listening to the radio and something came on about this particular lotion. I won't say the brand. And it
Hmm.
was a lotion that I used and it was saying that it had carcinogens in it. And
Hmm.
I was like, oh, absolutely not. I literally went home and threw away everything, like everything,
Hmm.
and just kind of started over. Black soap, shea butter, natural
Hmm.
toothpaste, like everything.
Hmm.
And just the more I kind of did that deep dive into kind of the products that we're using, the foods that we're eating, the things that we have believed to be true,
Hmm.
I'm like, that's not right. That's not right.
Hmm.
We've gotten so far away from just keeping it simple. We've complicated so many things,
Right.
and it doesn't have to be that way. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I want to say that that radio commercial is really what
The turning
it's
point.
really did it for me because I'm like, I'm using this on my face every single day.
Yeah.
We never read the back of those, the ingredients and what's really in this stuff that
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I definitely started with like the products, lip gloss and all that different stuff. I started with the products and then just kind of took it from there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So
saved
let's
my
talk.
life.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the skin is glowing, okay?
Yeah.
The skin looks good.
Thank you.
So, how do you integrate? Let's talk about the work that you're doing now. So how do you integrate when you're working with clients? How are you integrating your change in lifestyle, right? And your holistic approach to wellness with your clients when they meet you? What do they get when they have a consultation with
Yeah.
the doula, Dionca?
So a question that I always ask in consultations, and before I even say that, consultations are for the client, of course, but they're
Mm-hmm,
also for me because
mm-hmm,
I want to see, if we're going to mesh and if this is going to work as well. So it's not
mm-hmm.
just the client interviewing me. I'm definitely trying to see how I'm going to vibe with the client as well, because I
Right.
think it's really, really important. And if it's something that kind of stands out, I can say, hey, you know what? I think you may be better suited with my sis over here or whatever.
Mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm,
but in the consultations, I always ask like what your diet is like, because I think
mm-hmm,
that is so, 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 so important.
mm-hmm,
Um, you mentioned my skin, and I was just having this conversation with another doula. She was saying, like, oh, as you get older, your skin starts to change. And I was telling her, like, yeah, girl, I'm trying these different herbs, drinking this different tea to help my skin, because it really does start with what you put inside of your body. That's what comes out, is whatever you're
mm-hmm,
putting inside of your body. So
mm-hmm,
anyway, I always ask about the diet. And I always tell them to make sure that they're eating living food. Like,
mm-hmm,
you're eating, that's
mm-hmm,
cool, but make sure you're
mm-hmm,
eating living
mm-hmm,
food, being a salad, a piece of
mm-hmm,
fruit,
mm-hmm.
some spring water, have something that has not been fried, dyed, and laid to the side every time you have a meal. So I mentioned that off rip in the consultation because I just want
Mm-hmm.
how they're feeding themselves. And then, of course, like with my clients, I always provide the red raspberry leaf tea. I just always buy it in bulk. I always have a big bag of red raspberry leaf tea because I drink it all the time too.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely provide that for my clients. And just as things come up, different aches and pains, or, just different issues that come up, I always have an alternative method for them. Of course, there's a pill or something that you can take, but there's
Right.
always a natural remedy as well. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So what does a day in the life of you being a doula, like what does that look like? Especially, since you are rebuilding your practice in El Paso, what you doing during the day? Like how do
Yeah.
people find you? And then when they find you, what does it look like to work with you?
Yeah. So just a day in my life. I'm normally I try to check my emails and things in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a morning person, so I
Okay.
prefer to have like all of my meetings and things in the morning, especially when I'm
Mm-hmm.
on call and things like that, so that I can preserve the evening time just in case I get a phone call. So I really
Mm-hmm.
like to kind of pack my days heavy in the morning, and I can be done 1 o'clock
Mm-hmm.
and everything, the way I want to. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, typically people find me on social media. Before, I kind of feel like it was more word of mouth. I kind of knew the area a little bit better, so I was putting out business cards at yoga
Mm-hmm.
studios or massage places and things like that. But I'm still kind of getting my footing here in El Paso. So I feel like a lot of people find me on social media.
Okay.
Um, I'm not a huge fan of social media, but I
Mm-hmm.
definitely understand its purpose. So I try to
Mm-hmm.
post at least a couple times throughout the week, just, something inspirational,
Mm-hmm.
video of me doing something or whatever. And I feel like that kind of gets me a lot of traction. People find me a lot on social media.
Yeah, awesome. So are you working with multiple clients now? And then I also know that many of us, who have done doula work, especially if you're in birth work, if you're taking on more than one client, and I'm asking this because you are starting fresh in El Paso, um, do you have a backup doula or, do you not take as many clients as you
Mhm.
would have take taken if you were in Colleen, just because, depending on when your clients, excuse me, when your clients are due, how are you building that community in order to provide the best care for your doula clients?
Yeah, so I don't take any more than 3 clients a month.
Okay.
I took 4 clients one time, and
Mm.
that was a lot. I was exhausted. And 3 can even be kind of crazy sometimes because
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a backup doula. Actually,
Okay.
as long as I've been a doula, I've never had a backup doula. Just, out of fear that, maybe they don't provide the same care as I would. I would
Mm-hmm.
hate to build a rapport with a client and then something come up and I'm sending in someone that they maybe only talked to once or twice. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like we've said, birth is sacred, it's important, it's intimate. And
Mm-hmm.
I would hate for someone to show up that they didn't have that same type of relationship with as they did with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never had a backup doula. I just, it always works out for me. It always
Yeah.
works out for me. Even when I have clients that may be kind of similar with their due dates, it always works out. I've never missed a birth. So it
Yeah.
always works out. But I definitely try to only take 3 clients a month. That's like my cap. I've learned my
Yeah.
lesson. So yeah.
So what are your joys within doing this work? Like what are some of the things that just bring you so much joy when you are doing birth work?
Yeah. It's definitely the connections.
Mm,
I have made sisters, friends for life. It is
mhm,
for sure the connection. I don't even know how you could have that type of moment with someone and not be, connected,
mhm,
spending all that
mhm.
time with them, being there when they are in their most vulnerable moment. It is for sure the connections. I don't know, I just love being in community with women, just talking,
Mm.
hanging out, being
Yeah.
around the girls. Girl, I like being
Yeah.
around the girls.
Yes.
So yeah, I have made just amazing connections, amazing friendships and sisterhoods doing this work. That's for sure been my favorite part.
Yeah. But as we know, there are so many beautiful things that come with birth work, the babies, the connections. What are some of the challenges that have come up for you doing birth work, and how did you get through some of those challenges that you face?
Mm. Um, I would say for here in El Paso, one of the challenges has just been, just getting myself out there. It can be
Mm-hmm.
hard to get yourself out there, especially in an area where, you've got kind of OG doulas,
Mm-hmm.
people who, they're known as being doulas, and you're coming in as the new girl, and you may do
Mm-hmm.
things a little bit differently. Maybe you're speaking in a way that they haven't heard before, or saying things that
Mm-hmm.
they haven't heard before. So that is difficult. Just trying
Mm-hmm.
to get yourself out there, promote yourself, let people know you're here and you're ready to take.
Mm-hmm.
That has been difficult. Um, Also being all the way real, it is difficult sometimes working with the medical staff in hospital settings.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you are welcomed, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you are not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and that can be difficult. It can be difficult trying to stay focused on the client, but then also trying to, make sure ain't nobody coming in there doing something they shouldn't be doing, or having to stand up for yourself as the doula at the
Mm-hmm.
same time trying to stand up for the client. So hospital births can be difficult, especially as a holistic doula, someone who's taking
Mhm,
that more natural approach. You can have a natural birth in a hospital, but you can't
mhm,
necessarily have that full on physiological experience in the hospital because there will be some
mhm.
medicalization in the hospital. It's a medical place, so there will be some
Yeah,
medicalization in the hospital. So I think that has probably been one of the biggest challenges
yeah,
as a doula is dealing with the hospital sometimes. Yeah.
yeah. How do you navigate that when you are there? Like, what are some of your tips and tricks and tools,
Mhm.
for you to navigate challenging times, especially with the example that you gave being in a hospital setting?
Yeah, I would say keep it short. I think that you can want to, try to explain and argue and go back and forth and just keep it short. My client said, no, we're not interested. Not right
Mhm,
now. Can you please
mhm,
step out? just keep it short. I feel like when we start trying to explain and this, that, and the third, then it can kind of turn into a back and forth. And that's not the environment that we should
Mm-hmm.
be in for birth. Mama should just be focused. It should be quiet. It should be dark. There shouldn't be a lot of chatter going on. So just keep it short. And if you gotta, maybe say something afterwards, file a complaint afterwards, then you do what you have to do. But in that
Right.
moment, keep it short. Just keep it as
Yeah.
short as you can. And
Yeah.
and it's not personal either. You
Mm-hmm.
don't want to
Mm-hmm.
take anything personal in those moments either. So the
Yeah. I
hospital
think
staff
that's
is doing their job.
Yeah, I think that's great advice because I
Yeah.
think sometimes we do want to give explanations. We do want to show, hey, we hear what it is that you're saying, but the evidence shows,
Mhm.
right? The research shows this.
Yeah.
And like you said, it is finding that balance between this is the environment and the space that we're in, and we want to keep it a sacred and loving and caring and supportive and peaceful
Mhm.
space, for our clients. And so I love that. I love that advice. Keep it short, keep
Yeah.
it to the point,
Mhm.
right? And then we can always have a conversation about it later because
Yeah.
this moment isn't about us. It's about advocating and being there for our clients. So
Absolutely.
I love that. So when you are working with your clients, I always say that we are not the end all be all, right? We cannot do everything. And
Yeah.
so creating a team and working with other holistic health professionals as well as medical professionals at times, when
Mhm.
needed, because there is a time and a place for the medical personnel and medical professionals to come in and assist. However, before we even get to them, we have other holistic practitioners that do amazing work that are part of our integrative team. And so, what I have found is that a lot of times, clients don't know about all of the other holistic practitioners that are out there that should be a part or
Definitely.
can be a part of their team when they are going through this beautiful journey, right? So from
Yeah.
chiropractors to cranial sacral specialists to massage therapists to
Yeah.
Reiki practitioners to herbalists, the list just goes on and on and on. OTs, PTs, that pelvic floor specialists,
Yeah.
how do you collaborate with other holistic health professionals? And then how do you introduce that to your client so that
Mhm.
they know, hey, I'm your doula. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. But I'm also going to refer you because
Yeah.
I want you to get the best care possible. So how do you
Absolutely.
work with those other practitioners?
Yeah, and that's so important what you
Mhm.
said, that it is kind of a team. It's a
Mhm.
team effort. It's not just going to your prenatals for 15 minutes and that's it. There are
Mhm.
other things that you can incorporate into your pregnancy experience. I love massage. That's
Mhm.
like my gift to myself after every birth. I try to make sure that I get a massage. So a lot of times when I go to these massage places, I'll ask them, do they offer prenatal care? Oh, wow, you
Mhm.
do? Okay, great. I would love to tell my clients about you. Can I leave a business card here with you?
Mhm.
So I get out there. I actually go and meet with these people and actually take on their services.
Mhm.
I know in Colleen, there was a chiropractor that was amazing, Dr. Mika. And she was wonderful about prenatal care, chiropractic care. I had
Mhm.
never been to a chiropractor before. So I was like, I'm gonna go try her out. And
Mhm.
yeah, so I ended up recommending her to clients. She would recommend me to clients. Same thing with like yoga. I love doing
Mhm.
yoga. So I go
Mhm.
to the yoga studio, actually go there and meet with these people, invest in their businesses, and then
Mhm.
say, hey, I love what you're doing. Do you offer prenatal care or postpartum care? And can I leave a business card? Can I recommend some clients to you? So
Mhm.
a lot of the services that I would recommend to my clients, I go get those services too.
Mhm.
So I go and meet with those people. I actually get to know them. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It's nothing like referring someone to someone you have vetted. right? That you have experienced yourself. And that's what I absolutely love when working with clients, is to be able to know that when I send you somewhere, I'm sending you in good hands. Like, I have talked to this person, I have experienced this person, I have shared space with this person, even if it's virtually or being in their presence and getting work done, like you said. At least I at least have, I have been there, I have been in this space, and you can kind of match your clients with the people that you have built relationships with. And
For
so I
sure.
think that is so important, because we can't carry everything. Like, we can't do everything. I
Right.
know sometimes we feel like we can and we want to, but ensuring that, one, we don't get burnt out, you know, but
Yeah.
two, making sure that our clients know this is a holistic and integrative approach to wellness. And so
Yeah.
these are practitioners and wellness folks that you can even work with after the
Right.
pregnancy is
Right.
over. So let's start building that type of relationship.
Mhm.
Now, and you brought up a very important point earlier in our conversation when you talked about the postpartum time,
Mhm.
right? You
Yeah.
you gonna need some you're gonna need some of
Yeah.
those practitioners in that
Absolutely.
postpartum time, as you have been rebirthed and your body is going through so many different changes. You're gonna
Yeah.
need more than your OB or your
Mhm.
midwife or your doula. You're going to
Right.
need some more team members that
Yes.
can, give you those wraparound services. So I absolutely, totally, I agree with
Yeah.
you. Yeah, for sure. For sure. What advice would you give to moms looking for, or moms birthing people, that you would give when they are looking for a doula, or they're looking for wellness practitioners to be a
Mhm.
part of their birth team? What is some
Mhm.
advice that you would give them?
The very first thing I would say is to be honest with themselves
Mm,
uh, about what type of birth that they want.
mm,
Have that understanding that like you are the captain of the ship, right?
mhm,
So you can incorporate all these different people and all these different things, but you got to get clear with yourself about what type of birth it is that you want. If you go
mhm,
out seeking natural and holistic doulas and practitioners, then that's what they're going to bring to you. They're going to tell you all the different ways you can have this natural birth, and they've seen it, they believe you can do it, and all of
mhm,
that. But you got to check in with yourself. Do you
mhm,
believe that you can do it? And are you sure that this is what you want to do? Because you were saying earlier about it can't all be put on the doulas,
mhm,
and it can't
mhm,
be. It
mhm.
can't be. You can talk with your doula all day long and say, girl, I want to do this and I want to do that. And I'm gonna say, yes, ma'am, you can do it. I'm gonna be right there cheering you on. You got it, sis. I'm gonna
Yes,
hype you up. I'm the
yes,
hyper. I'm gonna hype you
yes.
up. But the reality is you've gotta already kind of have that inside of you and already kind of have that notion about you already, that this is
Mhm,
what I'm gonna do. I just could use a little, a little extra push along the way, a little more education along the way. So
mhm,
don't seek people that you're looking for them to try to convince you or change your mind.
mhm,
You've already got to kind of have that mindset already. So I think that would be the very first thing, is just get
mhm,
clear about what type of experience that you want to have. And then when you're talking to doulas or whoever, be honest. Just be
mhm,
completely honest. Ask all the questions. I think with doctors and OBs, I think some moms may get a little nervous, or they feel like they can't
mhm,
really ask the real raw questions, or they feel like they're being rushed.
mhm,
With doulas and kind of these other practitioners, just say it. Just let it all
mhm,
out. Ask the questions. There's no crazy, stupid question. Just ask all
mhm,
the questions. Say what it is that you want. Be clear on that, and then see how they can assist you. And I know we're just talking about with doulas and practitioners, but I also think we should take that approach with the doctors as well. Um,
mhm,
Tell
mhm,
them what it is that you want, and then have them come in and support that. And if they can't support that, find somebody else.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So how do you help your clients really figure out what it is that they want? Because a
Mhm.
person can come in, right,
Yeah.
and say, I want a natural birth.
Yes.
I want a natural birth,
Mhm.
and I want it in the water, and I
Mhm.
want the lights, and I want
Yeah.
my incense burning
The
and my music
music.
playing. Yes, just create the scene, right?
Uh-huh. Mhm.
And then you get to talking, and you start talking, and they be like, I don't like no needles.
Yeah.
My pain tolerance is real low. I can't have this. And you like, oh, how do you help them navigate, right?
Yeah.
To yes, this is what it is that you want, but
Mhm.
also finding that balance of realistic expectations of
Mhm.
the individual and what it is that they can, because like you said, as doulas, we're gonna root you on whatever it is that
Right.
you want. We want you to have the
Yeah.
birth that you want to have, but we
Mhm.
also want you to have realistic expectations of
Mhm.
what is to come, and as much as possible, right? Because
Right.
you really don't know what's to come until you get into the situation. We can do what we
Absolutely.
can to prepare you as much as
Mm.
possible,
Yeah.
but how do we help it, or how do you help your clients really drill down, right?
Mhm.
Really pull back the layers to
Mhm.
what, I guess you can say, what they can handle,
Uh-huh.
right? And what it is that they truly want. How do you find that balance and help them to discover,
Yeah.
what it may look like for them?
I think education is so important because I
Mhm,
think a lot of what we've been made to believe about pregnancy, childbirth, everything, it's some misinformation sprinkled in there.
mhm. Yeah.
So I think that education is important. So just have an understanding of what your body is going to be doing, right? I'm
Mhm,
afraid it's going to hurt. Well, why is it hurting? What's going
mhm,
on? Like, is it
mhm,
supposed to hurt? Is it supposed to be like this? Explaining what is happening. I think
mhm,
that is so important. I think a lot of like the fear comes from misinformation. And then
mhm,
the more that you understand, the better you can surrender. Because I think that that's probably the most important thing that you have to do
mhm,
in labor. And surrendering is so much easier said than done. I feel like that's something I
mhm,
work on like every day. It's so hard
mhm,
wanting to just control everything and be in
mhm,
control of just everything. So I think that the more that you know, the easier that you can surrender. So I definitely start with education, and then really talking about ways to cope, ways to deal with certain
mhm,
things. How do you deal with certain things? And then asking what the fears are. What are you afraid of? Okay, I'm
mhm,
afraid of tearing. Okay, well, let's talk
mhm,
about tearing. Let's talk about it. The more that you know about it, maybe it
mhm,
doesn't seem so scary. Maybe it just seems like it's just one of those things that can happen in childbirth. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't happen, but you don't have to
mhm,
fear it. So
mhm,
I really think just breaking it down. I always ask my clients, how are you feeling? Any new fears coming up, any new concerns coming up, and then let's
mhm,
work through the fear. Let's talk about it. Because a lot of
mhm.
times it's something you heard on TikTok or read somewhere, and we don't even know if that's true or not. So
Right.
let's really break it down and see where that's coming from. And if we can work
Mhm,
through that fear, then we can move on to other things. I feel like social media is kind of painting this picture that we've got to do all these things in order to
mhm,
for labor, and you need to know all these different techniques and all these
mhm.
different things. That's kind of like later on. Like,
Okay.
let's figure out what it is that we want to do. Let's work through any fears we have. Then we can come up and start looking at the different techniques and things that we can do to kind of work through that. So whether that's
Mhm,
mindfulness, breathing techniques, different stretches and things like that. But we have to just get clear about what it is that we want, figure out where you've been receiving misinformation, what topics you've been
mhm,
receiving misinformation about, and get the truth about those things. And
mhm,
then the reality is, at the end of the day, we're all here because somebody gave birth. That's how
mhm,
we all got here. So
mhm,
it is probably the most natural process that takes place. That's how we all got here. So even if
mhm,
media and all these different things portray it as this painful, scary thing, I mean, it's a part of life. It's what we have to do
mhm,
to bring
mhm.
babies to the world. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I love that. And so as you're going through and you're talking about um some of the concerns, their fear, where they're getting their information from, how they're processing it and working through that. We know that support systems are extremely important during this process, right? Because not only are you getting stuff from social media, depending on how old your parents are, or
Mm,
depending on how old your grandparents are,
yeah,
who your support system is, who's in your family, who, people have a lot of opinions. People like to
yeah,
share their opinions,
yeah, mhm,
and things have changed, things have
yeah,
shifted, a lot. I think the foundation of birth is the same, right?
mhm,
But there have been so many different um, new technologies, right?
yeah,
And so we're learning so much more about birth. But
yeah,
the foundation, as you mentioned, we all got here the same way. The
mhm,
foundation, going back to basics, going back
yeah,
to our ancestral traditions, birth
mhm,
is still the same,
still the
right? It's
same.
still the same.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm saying all that to say that we can get so wrapped up in social media. We can get so wrapped up in a lot of things that are people and just the information that's being put out there, right? And so, how do we help our family members in our support team and our support,
Mhm,
not the practitioners that we're working with, but our family,
yeah.
understand that yes, the foundation is the same,
Mhm,
right? But how you grew up and how you birthed in your time is a little bit different. Like I kind of feel like we're getting back to basics a bit
yeah, I do
more. Do
too.
you feel like that? Do you feel
I
like we're kind
do.
of getting back to
And I love it.
our, yes, to our traditions and
Mhm,
things? So when you're working with families, especially since you're taking a really holistic approach to birth, how are
mhm,
you helping family members to understand, whether it be partners, moms, grandmas, grandpas, aunties, uncles, whoever it is that's there, to
mhm,
understand this is how we're doing things. This is how we
uh,
appreciate all the information that you're giving, right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
how do you help them to understand and also to support,
Mhm.
mom and the birthing person, when you're working with them as their doula?
Yeah. So I think as a doula, a part of our job is to set the tone.
Mm,
So if there's anybody there that is disrupting the tone, then I think it is our job to kind of diffuse that situation, and mom shouldn't
mhm,
even hear it or know that it's even going on.
mhm.
So I do think that educating the family or whoever the other support people are is really important. Real quick story time. I remember I was
Yes.
doing a home birth, an unassisted home birth at that, and the grandma was there, and she was doing really, really good, but she was getting a little antsy. She was getting a little
Mhm,
antsy, and Mama was starting to kind of make those transition sounds, or was starting to get a
mhm,
little real, and I could see that she was looking at you, and I was like, she was looking at me, and I was like, it's
mhm.
okay. She's okay. Like, she's gonna be fine. I was like, now, grandma, you keep acting up. I'm gonna have you go boil some water.
Right.
She actually got up and went to go boil water. You know, in a lot of the
Mhm.
movies were like, the baby's coming, go boil the
Yeah.
water. Have
Right.
you go boil the water? She actually went and boiled the water. She thought I was being serious because that's just how nervous that she was. But
Mhm,
sometimes that's what you may have to do to support people. You
mhm,
may have to put them on a task. Hey, we're going to need towels in a little bit. Can you go make sure that there's
mhm,
some clean towels? Or hey, she's probably going to be hungry after this. You want to go get started on some rice or go do something. You may have
mhm,
to send people off to go do a task
mhm,
so that you can maintain the tone in the
mhm,
birth space. I've actually had to do that. But I also think that what you said is so true, that things have changed so much.
mhm,
It's starting to go back, but they've also changed so much.
mhm,
I deal with a lot of clients who have like their moms or even their mother-in-laws and things in the room, and they'll always be like, "Wait, they didn't do that when I was in labor, or are
mhm,
they supposed to be doing that?" And I'm like, "No, it's fine, it's okay."
mhm, mhm,
So I just try to reassure them a lot. Um,
mhm,
but I also, in that moment, if we're all just kind of sitting around, I'm talking to them. I'm letting them know, like, oh yeah, I've seen this a million times, or moms do this all the time, and baby's
mhm,
totally fine. Just I do a lot of reassuring. But if
mhm,
at any moment it feels like maybe that energy is starting to kind of come off on mom, or it's going to break the vibe that we've set, then we're gonna have to send auntie and mama off to go, boil some water, go do
Yeah.
something. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So what is your relationship like with partners? And how do you incorporate partners into this process of birth?
Yeah. I think that's an important thing to talk about too. I think some people
Mm-hmm.
have this misconception that, oh, well, my man, he's good. I don't need a doula. But the reality is, he's having a baby. He's having a baby too. And a lot of men are just not, fully educated if they haven't been sitting in those classes with you. And obviously, they're not physically going through the pregnancy with you. So a lot of things can be a bit of a shock to
Mm-hmm.
men. And I've noticed a lot with like partners, men or women,
Mm-hmm.
that they don't want to see their partner in pain, or they don't want to see their partner struggling or crying or screaming or, whatever. So then they can kind of start to get a little nervous too.
Mm-hmm.
So I do labor prep sessions with my clients. I can meet with my client throughout the whole pregnancy. The partner doesn't have to be there, but the labor prep session, the partner has to be there,
Mm-hmm.
because I believe most doulas don't show up until you're in active labor.
Mm-hmm.
So early labor can last for days. So who is there during early labor? What techniques do they know? Do they know how to help you and support you? So in that labor prep session, I definitely teach partners different comfort measures, and things to look out for, when they should call me. I make sure they have my phone number too, when to call me and things like that. So just teaching them different things that can help keep mom comfortable. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely think that helps. And then as the doula, you start doing hip squeezes, for 30 minutes, them arms gonna start to get tired. So then you can pull the partner in. Hey, yeah, you get in there and give a couple hip squeezes. And
Mm-hmm.
doulas can also kind of help with raising the oxytocin, but I don't think there's anything like the partner coming in.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different type of oxytocin when the partner comes in. So you definitely want to include the partners as much as you can. So yeah, I teach them all the comfort measure techniques so that they can keep mom as comfortable as possible.
Yeah. What are your top three? What are your top three comfort
Ooh,
measure
um,
techniques?
definitely hip squeezes.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely hip squeezes or the counter pressure. Swaying, having mom put her arms around your neck and just grabbing her hips or grabbing her around the waist and just kind of moving back and
Mm-hmm.
forth, back and forth. And then breathing. Breathing should be number one, honestly. Breathing. If you're in the room and you notice mom is starting to do that really kind of, nervous breathing,
Mm-hmm.
you just start slowing it down. You start
Mm-hmm.
breathing like that. And then mom will kind of catch on and start breathing like that as well. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
those are my
Yeah.
top.
Yeah, I love it. As I mentioned, I always put when we're talking about birth, the sacredness of birth. And then I
Mhm.
always associate the sacredness or the word sacred with spirituality. Like I
Mhm.
just like pairing them together. That's just my
Yeah,
thing, right? And
yeah.
so we understand and we know that birth is so sacred. It is also a spiritual process. Like
Mm,
the partner is being rebirthed, the
yeah.
baby is being birthed, and depending on what your beliefs are, coming back again, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
mom is being rebirthed. And so, how do you incorporate spiritual beliefs
Mhm.
within this process?
Mhm.
I know that we have different religions and
Mhm.
and you work with different people, but
Yeah.
spiritually, on a spiritual level, we have mind, body, and spirit, and everything is shifting and changing in this
Mhm.
process. Whether it's in your consultations or throughout the time that you work with your families, how are you incorporating um, a spiritual approach or your spiritual beliefs or the family spiritual beliefs
Yeah.
into their wellness and into this journey of birth?
Yeah. So, I definitely think that one of my favorite things about doing this work is that I get to witness miracles.
Mm,
I know like we're all just like, we're just here, but like
mhm,
literally every single person is a miracle. Like it's a
mm,
miracle, that two people came together and we were born. And so the fact that I get to be there when
mhm,
that baby is born, just like I never take that for granted. It still blows my mind. Still blows my mind that I get to I literally get to do this.
Yeah.
You know. Um, so I am a Christian, so I pray. I
Mm-hmm.
pray over my clients.
Mm-hmm.
In person when I'm not with them, I'm always praying for my clients. I always thank God once the baby actually makes it earthside. Um, but as far as just incorporating it into the work, I think that it is spiritual to take a holistic approach.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I take the holistic approach because I believe that God didn't just throw us out here like, here you go, figure it out. He gave us
Mm-hmm.
everything that we needed. So that's all the herbs and all the everything. He gave us every
Mm-hmm.
single thing that we needed.
Mm-hmm.
So that is for sure how I incorporate spirituality into the work. It's just, I believe, it was just something that is in us. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that's in us. And we've complicated it so much, of course, like I mentioned. But I really believe that it is just something that is in us. So it's not a matter of having to learn how to birth your baby. You already know how to
Mm-hmm.
birth your baby. Like
Mm-hmm.
your body can do it. It's just
Mm-hmm.
sometimes our mind will try to convince us otherwise.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Can you give us a story or an experience that has really left a lasting impact on you that was just you were just like in such awe. Like it couldn't have gone any better than this. Like this was just like perfect. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it just leaves you maybe even with tears in your eyes because it just touched you that much.
If I can be honest, I have so many of those moments. I am a crier. I cry when I'm happy, when I'm sad, when I'm mad. It's coming out. Okay.
Yes.
So I am a crier, but I guess just the first thing that comes to my mind is it's almost been a year. So this baby's going to be a year old in January. I think January 14th, actually. It was a first time mom and she was kind of having some issues just throughout pregnancy. She's kind of a petite lady. So baby was getting, bigger. She was getting further along in the pregnancy. She was having a lot of aches and pains and things like that. But she was very determined to have a natural birth. And she did that, but not without, I don't want to say complication, but there was just a bit of a struggle um, to get to that point. When we got to the hospital, she was 7 centimeters dilated. So we did the work at home. She did fantastic. Her husband was a great support. Her aunt had came in from out of town. She was amazing. It was just so much. Everyone was just loving on her. It was just so much love in the room. It was amazing. When she got to 9 centimeters, and this is a story I also have on my Instagram, but when she got to 9 centimeters, there were some heart decels with the baby. And the nurse didn't really mention it. She just kind of stepped out and brought the doctor back in. And when the doctor came back in, um, he was just, oh my goodness, your baby is going to have cerebral palsy. And we're just so concerned. I mean, just throwing out all these things like, we've got to do a C-section right now. And I just remember looking at her face, mom's face, and it just like despair just came over her face. And I told her, like, hey, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. You're so close. Like, let's just keep going. She looks at her husband and looking at him like, what do I do? And he was like, you got this. Like, we can keep going. Like, you totally got this. So he told that doctor to leave. And I love that because that's something I tell my clients. These people work for you. So if they're saying something that you don't like, you can tell them to leave. He told him to leave. So he told him to leave, and we just kept on working. We just kept on working. So then the midwife, because there was a midwife in the room, she says, well, hey, I can just break your water since they're concerned, about the heart cells. And I'm thinking, well, why didn't say that in the first place? We didn't just jump straight to a C-section. And so my client looks at me and she's like, well, what do you think? And I'm like, hey, it's up to you. We 9 centimeters, we rolling, they break the water. The baby might, let's, if that's what you want to do, let's do it. She agrees to let them break her water. And she gets to 10 centimeters in like 10 minutes after that. So transition hits, and she spent like 15 minutes literally just laying in my lap, just laying in my lap, breathing, moaning, making noises. And her aunt was kind of looking at me like, is she okay? And I'm like, she's fine. Everything's fine. We're just having our moment. And I'm like, okay, those sounds are starting to sound a little, like we getting there. How you feeling?
Right.
Want to give birth right here on my lap, or what you
Right.
think? And her aunt says, well, what about squatting? Like, maybe you should squat. And she's like, okay, I want to squat. So
Mm-hmm.
everyone, the nurses are like, no, like, no, 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 we need to get you in the bed. We need to get you in the bed. And I'm like, no, you're fine. If you want to squat, you can squat. It's the bar. She's standing over the bar. And she made this sound that I will never, that I will never forget. It was this primal, just crazy sound. She made this sound I had never heard, but I could just see in her face that she was just digging deep, like to the depths of her soul to get this baby here. She
Mm-hmm.
made this sound and she squatted, and the baby was born. Baby was absolutely perfect. No cerebral palsy, no issues whatsoever. So that C-section would have been totally, totally,
Unnecessary.
totally
Mm-hmm.
unnecessary. But I just like just how proud she was of herself. I'll never forget the sound, but I'll never forget her face of just how proud she was of herself. And when I see
Mm-hmm.
first time moms, look at me. When I see first time
Don't
moms,
listen. Do not start that crying,
I'm
okay?
sorry, I'm
Because
sorry.
I will be a crybaby too. We'll be on here together.
But when I see first time moms like really dig deep and take control of their first birth experience, it touches me so much because a lot of people think that that first experience is like a test run. Like, well, I want to have a home birth, or I want to have a birth center birth. This is my first time. So, I don't really know if I can do it, but you can. Like, it's in you. You can. So,
Mm-hmm.
the way that you approach that first birth, that's the way you approach motherhood. That's the way you
Yeah.
approach going into this new part of your life. And so,
Mm-hmm.
when I see first time moms, like, just kill it, just completely kill it, just stay focused on what it is they want to do and dig deep and have the
Mm-hmm.
birth that they want, it just, yeah, it just does something to me. So shout out to Jew. You did amazing,
Yay.
girl. Yeah, that was a really special.
Oh, gave me goosebumps. I love it. I love a good story time. Okay, I
Yeah.
love me a good story time. And it makes it even better when you got to do like this. Ooh.
Yeah. Right, right. Every birth, I'm always like, don't cry, don't do it, don't do it. But I can't help it. I can't.
Yes, yeah. But like you said, birth is a miracle. And
Yeah,
I don't think people truly understand how the stars have to align
yeah,
perfectly
yeah,
in the right moment, in the right millisecond for
yeah.
that sperm to get to that egg, for it to
Man,
fertilize, for it to just duplicate over and over, and for the
yeah,
process to start. Like, it
right.
is truly a miracle, which is
It
why
is.
they still cannot figure out all of the ins and outs of birth.
Come
Okay,
on.
because that's how sacred it is.
Exactly,
Okay, and
exactly.
it truly is. I mean, you have dropped so many gems to
Mm,
make people truly think about how unique, how special,
yeah,
how loved, how beautiful, how awesome we each are as
yeah,
individuals.
yeah.
And that no matter how long you are here on this earth,
Hmm.
whether you are here for 2 seconds or whether you are here for 100 years,
Hmm.
you came here with a purpose
Absolutely.
and you are meant to be here. And so,
Yeah.
in those hard times, in those times where we're challenged and we're struggling and things, you just remember, right? You remember
Yeah. Yeah.
that you are supposed to be here. Like, the stars
Absolutely.
align perfectly
They
for
did.
you to be here.
Yeah.
So, girl, okay. We
Yeah.
listen. We didn't know it was gonna be all
Right.
emotional,
I
Dionca.
would have had some tissue over here if I knew. But that's how it is. That's just how much I love this work and just how
Yeah.
passionate I am about it. You really hit the nail on the head. Before we started this, we were talking about our
Yes.
sun and moon and rising and all
Yes.
of that.
Yeah.
But that's in order to have those different things, you had to
Hmm.
be born at a certain place at a certain time.
Mm.
That's just so amazing. It's so
Yeah.
amazing to me. And like I said before, I never take that for granted. I
Yeah.
never take it for granted that I get to witness babies being brought into this world. It blows my mind. It blows my mind every
Absolutely.
single time. It doesn't get dull. It doesn't get boring. It's not like, oh, okay, here's another one. Never. Every single time, my mind is blown. So
Girl, let's get even more adventurous because you're about to start this
yeah,
midwifery journey. Okay. So you
yes,
definitely gonna have to come back. And I'm gonna have
yeah,
tissue next time because I
yeah,
know you're gonna
right.
have some stories.
We're gonna be prepared. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, what resources, education, that's your thing,
Yeah.
what are some, let's see, give me three books. Give me three books, Dionca.
Ooh,
Give me three books that you would give your
okay.
clients, families, anybody watching this, three books that are gems, right? That
Mm,
you feel that people should have in their library, whether they are pregnant, thinking about being pregnant, or going through the process of pregnancy right now, what are three books that they should get their hands on?
okay. Now, I'm not good with remembering authors and all of that, but there's a
That's
book
fine.
called, I think it's called Natural Minded Mama, I
Okay.
believe. That's a really good one. Ina May Gaskin's book, that I feel like everybody talks about. That's a really good one. And I really like the book called The Birth Partner,
Mm-hmm.
um, for partners. I think that's a really good book too. So yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
Yay, yay, yay,
yeah,
yay. This has been so organic.
yeah.
And I just love this flow. I love your spirit. And
Thank
I can just tell that you are doing what you have been called to do.
you.
Right. I mean, I can feel it in my spirit. It gives me goosebumps to hear you
Mm,
talk about your work and to see you smile,
yeah,
and to see that this is not just a job for you,
no,
right? This is something that you are breathing it, you are living it,
yeah,
and it is a beautiful thing. And any family that has the opportunity to work with you, they are truly blessed. And
thank
it will be, I believe it will be a wonderful experience for them. So I just want to thank you so much for being in this space, for choosing this work, allowing this work to choose you,
you.
right?
Yeah.
Walking in your purpose, because you are doing what you are called to do. So that is such a beautiful thing. And then, I mean, it makes it even better when the skin is on, the skin is on glow and the locks are giving. Okay.
Thank you, thank you. I
So,
appreciate you for creating this space. I was
thank
very
you.
nervous, but I was literally just telling my friend the other day, yeah, I'm doing this podcast. I was like, but you know what? She's just so cool. Like it's not even gonna be that difficult. I'm gonna have my tea and I'm gonna
Yes,
sit here and we're gonna chat. So thank
yes,
you for the opportunity to
absolutely.
be here and just for creating this space and just for being such a sweetheart, and someone so easy to talk to. So thank
Oh,
you.
thank you so much.
Yeah,
I love y'all. I love
love you
y'all.
more.
So as we start, just to kind of wind down and we get ready to close out, um, I want to know, with all the experience,
Mhm.
with all your life lessons, in this work and just your life in general, what would you tell little Dionca? What would you tell your younger self?
Mm. I would tell little D that she's not too much. That she's not too much. Oh, we're not doing it again. I'm not crying again.
No, but
So
this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna let it flow. And if spirits say the tea is gonna go, we just gonna let it flow. Okay. Because I
yeah.
believe that this message that you are giving is not only touching you and
Hmm.
me, it's gonna touch
Yeah.
whoever
Hmm.
watches this.
Yeah.
You dropping
Okay. Okay.
gems. So go ahead, give it to me. What you telling little
Yeah.
D? We
Yeah. I
listening.
would tell little D, that you're not too much. That that feeling of being too much will cause you to kind of sleep on yourself,
Mm,
not go after the things that are like burning you up inside, that you got to do it so much that it's like burning you up. But you're
mm,
like, oh no, like maybe I'm too loud for that, or I'm too much
mm,
for that. I'm gonna do too much, or they're not gonna understand how I'm saying it, or
mm,
you know, but you're not too much. You're enough. You're more than enough. So
mm,
yeah, yeah. I feel like there's a lot of girls that grow up and they are labeled bossy, talkative, all those types of things. And that's okay. It's okay to be that way. It's okay to be loud. It's okay to be too much because you're going to be just right for your people.
Yes.
So,
yeah, girl, you better run it back. You're going to be just right for your people. And you have found your people.
Yeah.
You have found
your people. They find me.
Yeah.
They find me. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So how can they find, how can the people find you? Where can they find you? How can they work with you? How can we support you? How can we love on you? How can we donate to you? Where you at, girl? Where you at?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Dionca the Doula. And I also have a website, www.dioncathedoula.com. So that's where I'm at. Y'all come find me.
Yes. Well, I want to thank you so much for being here today. I'm so glad that you joined. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, to see you smile, to hear your stories, and just to take up space with you. You are a beautiful spirit, a beautiful soul. And anybody, like I said, would be blessed to work with you. We look forward to hearing more about your journey. You definitely have to come back. So once you get in the thick of things of this midwifery journey, we're gonna have to schedule another time because we want to hear all about it, and how it's going and what it looks like. And for any new doulas or any new midwives or people, I do some mentor mentee work, right, with some new doulas, and some of them are looking at midwifery. And so for them to be able to hear your story, or anyone else who watches this episode and is thinking about either hiring a midwife, right, working with a midwife, or becoming a midwife, and especially if you're Black or brown, right, and what that experience is like, we want to hear all about it. So thank you again for joining us today and being with us. Sending you all my love. And I will be checking in with you to see how you're doing.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today, and we'll see you in the next episode.